So let me show you the list real quick. If you're in the members chat, you already saw this, but this is just what I was instructing. Because when we looked at it yesterday, I didn't really know exactly what to expect or how to make it function. But the more I went over the lines and the more I went over the deck, I was like, the cash cards, they're just mandatory, it seems. They're just essential, they're stable because of this spell. This spell is just insane. So for those of you that don't know how this deck functions or how just haven't even seen these cards, these were just announced and they have some pretty cool psychic support. Because this one basically, okay, so let me go one by one on these guys. So she's like your other starter, not one of the 9 starters that you have, considering you have teleport, you have procedure, right? But you can banish a card from your hand to special a psychic from your deck, right? So more often than not, you're gonna be summoning this guy, and then this guy searches your teleport cards, which will search you your parallel teleport, or it'll search you your emergency teleport or your fusion teleport. But depending on your hand, most often than not, you're gonna be searching. This basically lets you tribute any psychic and then summon any psychic from your extra deck or your main deck that's level 7 or lower, and their effect's not negated. It just summons it for free, basically. Not for free, but you're just replacing a psychic on field for a psychic.
You lose a
extra
lot
deck,
of life points,
depending on what level you summon, of course. But generally, what happens is this can give your deck a bit of utility because you can summon any level 7 or lower psychic, or you can just summon out your cash cards. That's good. So typically what happens is you go these 3 and 2, end up synchro summoning your silent magician, and then your silent magician ends up reborning one of these 2. And then you can increase the level of one of them by 1. And you usually will go for this one because this can be your level 9. So then you go 5 and 4 because you'll increase by 1, and you'll synchro into your psychic blaster. And then your psychic blaster can reborn the psychic, typically, that you banish off of the serene. And that's how you snowball your cash cards through this engine, which is cool. Well, let me just show you. Okay, this is with just planet and teleport. And remember, they're interchangeable. So you can open up the psychics themselves, or you can open up their spells that search them. Okay, so that's like consistency within itself. Okay, so
very consistent.
All right, so let's play. Okay, so we go for the planet, searches the Fenrir. This is important because this gets you the card you need to banish for the girl. Okay, just keep it in mind. So this gets you your unicorn, and then you summon the girl, the one that banishes a card from your hand to summon a psychic from your deck, which is very important. So you banish the unicorn. Remember how I said that this guy will reborn the banished psychic that you send off for effect? That's very important. That's how you get access to the rest of your cash engine, which is cool. So you summon the guy that searches the teleport. What? It gives you the new one, the parallel. And then remember the 5 reborns the 3, right? And you synchro climb into the 9. And then the 9 revives the one you just banished, which is the unicorn. And then the unicorn gives you access to birth. And then you activate that. And you can summon any level 7 or lower psychic, right? So whether you're going first, whether you're going second, you can summon the one you want. But Zeta is basically, think of this as like an SP, basically, right? Whenever they summon in attack mode, you just banish those 2. It's spot removal. So you have 3 spot removals already, right? Pretty cool. And then you go birth, and right here you can leave the board as is, right? You can leave it as is, have a extra deck rip, but you could also go into era. So you're basically swapping the extra deck rip with the pop. So it's like 1, 2. So you would summon Fenrir. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, four
Probably
spot removal.
matchup dependent.
Yeah. And then you pass, and then you summon your Fenrir, and then you're here, right? So then you end up so instead of having the field spell pop, you would have the unicorn. So it'll be independent on the matchup, right? But that's pretty cool, the fact that you can do that, and they're interchangeable whether you start with the guy that searches teleport, whether you start with the teleport itself, whether you start with the planet, whether you start with Fenrir, whether you start with this quick play and the cash cards, like they're interchangeable, so it's consistent, which is cool. Then you just pass, and then you just have interactions. This way you go Zeta, banish, so spot removal, right? So that's the first one. That's the second one. And then Fenrir would be the other one. And then on resolution of that, the planet would trigger. No, I mean the arrow would trigger, locking a zone, and then the field spell will trigger, and then you pop another card, which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. And then this guy reborns itself whenever it's banished. Yo, what up, Mello? Yeah, and this is the other combo where you rip 2, which is pretty cool. But this utilizes the punk engine. The only difference here is that you don't search your parallel teleport because you can't use it because you summoned a non-psychic. So just be mindful of that. Because parallel teleport is like overtake, where the entirety of the turn you cannot summon anything non-psychic. Okay. And then this revives that. Your 3. And then right here, you're supposed to make the XYZ punk, the monster negate. You're supposed to make jam here, but I just missequenced it. But just be mindful of that. Yeah, you get teleport, and then you're supposed to do that before this, but yeah, it's fine. And then you summon the girl. You don't have a card to banish for her, which is something I was trying to figure out how to, how to get access to that. But then I was like, oh, wait a second, we can just go for Omega here. We go Omega, rip, and then we go for this guy, and this guy reborns the Omega, and you rip 2, right? So now you hand rip twice. So 2 cards gave you double hand rip and ended on a spot removal and a monster negate, which isn't bad because as long as the deck is consistent in doing this board,
you're
that
gonna
means
have non-engine too. You have the combo line to set up the fusion yet?
No, not yet. I just went off of this. Just printed off this. So this is where you'd open up the parallel, which is what I was referring to, where you can open up none of the psychics and just cash and the spell, which is pretty cool. And this is gonna be the same line where you banish the unicorn and then eventually reborn it to get birth and so on and so forth. Then you go for this guy, reborns that, go into your guy that reborns the psychic, reborns your guy. This will summon. Okay, this is important because this is how you trigger your LAMBDA. Okay, this is how you trigger your LAMBDA. So you summon LAMBDA, you go into revive your Fenrir, and this guy's effect is he can banish itself and a psychic to banish a card on the field or a monster on the field, and then return it to the field during the end phase. But because this is on the field, you can use it to get engine through your cards, which is cool. So you banish your Fenrir, you trigger the LAMBDA, so you can end phase search, right? So you end phase search a Gamma, and you get your Fenrir back. So like, see, like it's so versatile. It's so versatile. That's what I really like about this. It's really cool. And eventually, and the fact that this guy can keep reborning your psychics means that you can always reborn any of your psychics, because eventually you'll get access to your minister, and then your minister can banish itself and the psychic, which is depending on the one you want to reborn. Let's say you lose your LAMBDA, right? You can banish it with your minister, and then banish a card in the field, and then eventually get to your blaster, and your blaster will reborn the LAMBDA, assuming you want to have that established. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I think that was cool. And that's basically it. That's what I've been working on so far. And the extra deck is very toolboxy. It's similar to how Crystron is locked into machines, so you have to do the best with what you can. And they have some pretty decent psychics. There's a lot of spot removal. You have a pseudo macrocosmos. It's kind of like a macrocosmos, which is nice. You have this guy that searches any of your cards. Well, not any of your cards, but most of your important ones. You can search your hand shop, which is nice. You have spot removal with this. You have a steal with this. But I feel like you're gonna have to play more than one copy of this, right? Because these two are the same. So you're technically playing two of this card because this one reborn from Banish as well. These both have the same effect where they can reborn a psychic from the Banish. So theoretically, you can either banish this and then later on make this guy and then reborn it and then repeat it that way. Yo, what up, Edgar? Yeah, no, but so going back to I don't really typically play or test a future card, but as I said, I thought this was a pretty cool concept until we tested it, and I thought it was bad. Then I had to go back to it, so it was pretty bad. But it's pretty cool because I thought it was better than it was, and then because initially I was like, oh, there's some pivot points. It's not a streamlined thing. The only streamlined thing is going to be the climb, whether you go 5 to 9. But within there, because of this card being able to summon anything, there's points of deviation. You don't have to always summon the same thing off of this quick play parallel teleport. You can summon almost anything. And then this facilitates Punisher as well, because it'll lower your life points. Because you will pay X times 1,000 based on the difference of the level that you summoned. So let's say you summon a 3 and you summon a 7, then you take 4, which will make Punisher huge, right? Which is I don't know, I think it's cool. I think it's a pretty cool deck.